What is up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of Funnel Chats. In today's episode, we are going to add another video into CF 2.0 step by step. This is a series where we've been going through all the things I like to do in 2.0 step by step. Today, I want to jump right into the ClickFunnels page editor. We haven't touched it at all yet, and we are going to make it super simple. So if you've never built a page before, this is the tutorial that you want to see. It's going to give you the basics to get building. I'm going to show you the 5 layers to every page you've ever seen inside of a funnel. I'm going to show you the 5 core elements that make up just about every funnel I can think of. Every 2 Comma Club funnel, 10X word funnel, 100 million funnel, all the fancy giant awards. They all consist of mainly 5 elements. So I'm going to show you those 5 so that you're ready to get started and start building. Now, before we do that, if you haven't yet, make sure you smash the subscribe button. It's right below the video. It only takes 2 seconds. It absolutely means the world to me. I'm on my journey here inside of YouTube, on my journey to monetization. I want to get some of that ad revenue. So make sure if you can, if you have it in your heart, just click that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and you won't miss any of my future videos. So we're going to dive right into it. Inside of 2.0, we build funnels in one specific place. It's kind of confusing because if you go to sites and then start building something in there, you do get the same editor, but it's not meant for building funnels. That's where you're going to build your website, your customer centers, your courses, your stores in the future. Do not build a funnel under sites. Make sure you come down to funnels, and then it will take you here where you'll have your funnel list, all the funnels you've built so far. In here, to get started, all we're going to do is click here on Create Funnel. There's something called recipes where they give you kind of outlines of different funnels. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I like to build a lot of mine from previous funnels that I built, and especially when I'm first getting started, I like to do it from scratch. Okay, so there's a lot of settings and things. In this video, I just want to get into the editor, so don't worry about a lot of these extra settings. On this step, all I do is give it a name. Don't worry about the domain, the path, all that stuff. Figure that out later. All we're going to do is give this funnel a name. I'm going to call mine the Funnel Chats Test Funnel. There you go. Create the funnel. Okay. Now the funnel gets created and it brings you to this page, which is completely new. We've never seen this before. I don't even know if this has an official name. In the URL, in the path here, it says it's the funnel workflow. I call it the funnel workflow editor, or the funnel map editor. Basically, here is where we can map out our funnel. So instead of just getting steps stacked on top of each other like we did in CF Classic, now we can actually build out a whole map and have a visual representation of the whole journey, all the different journeys that people can go on in our funnel. It's sort of like having Guru or Funnelytics built right into it. It's really, really cool. You can make your map right here. So to start adding steps, all you do is click this little plus sign, select add a page. There are templates you can choose from. But I'm going to do my first one right from scratch just to show you. Okay. So I'm going to say new page. I'm going to give this page a name. I'm just going to call this the test opt-in page. I'm going to build an opt-in form on here. Okay. Give a description for your SEO. You can change the ending path right here. And what's really awesome now, what you can do is you can update style guides. So if I chose one of those templates, it would actually give me the choice to use the template style guide or use the style guide that I've already created in my account. Right, so if I do this, if I had a template, if they have a button set to style 1 instead of it being their style, it's going to load it up with the style from my style guide. So if you haven't watched the style guide video yet, go into the videos in my channel, go to the playlist, CF 2.0 step by step. There is a whole video in there on style guides. Okay. Then really awesome. You can choose whether or not it shows in search engines, and by default it's set to no, which if you've built lots of funnels before, you know that is a huge time saver. In the past, it was always set to yes. Only ever set the first step in your funnel to show in search engines. While this is creating, I'll tell you the reason why I do that. The reason why we do that is because we don't want someone to find like an OTO page or, an order confirmation page by searching our domain. We only want them to find first steps in our funnels because that's how funnels work. They start on step 1, certain percentage makes it to step 2, step 3, et cetera, et cetera. That's how funnels work. So 99.9% of the time, only step 1 is shown in search engines. Okay. So we added a page. We can add more too. I'll just show you really quickly. I'll do another new one, test 2, right? And it loads them up like that. You can also add split tests and conditional paths So split testing, pretty obvious. You can have A, B. Conditional paths, I can say it's mostly used for like upsells and things like that. Did they purchase the upsell? So it'll get to a condition, so it has purchased product. If yes, send them to this page. If no, send them to my downsell page. So you can send them on these little journeys. It's really cool. But we're just going to jump into the editor here. We click on edit. It brings us in. Now it's really cool is we get this little left sidebar now, and I can navigate from one page to another without leaving the editor. Huge time saver compared to ClickFunnels Classic or almost any other page editor out there. Huge fan. And we can just minimize that by using the little hamburger stack in the top left. Okay. Now I mentioned there's 5 layers to every page. The first layer is the background of the entire page. And to edit that, all you do is go to settings and background. Once you turn this on, you can change it to different colors. You can use background videos. If you just put a YouTube URL in there, it'll actually like autoplay in the background for you. More often than not, I end up using some type of image, and you can change it to different colors. Okay, but let's leave this white. I'm going to actually use an image, right? If we just click on here, it pulls up our image library, and we can upload our own images in here to use. But what's also really cool is they have all these other spots that we can pull images from. They recently just added free pick, which is actually something I'm going to do an entire video on in the future. It's one of my favorite resources for images and design tools. If you search on here, let's just search white background. Look, it gives me all these free background images. I can click on save. It will actually load that into my account, and then I can select it, and boom, look, now that is my background. We can also add foreground color over top of this image, which we couldn't do before, which is awesome. Say I wanted to like set this to black, but not have 100% black. I can overlay it, like darken it up a little bit. How cool is that? So that's the first layer. I always think of this layer as the pizza crust. If we're making a pizza, right? If you're looking at it top down, there's just the crust. On top of the crust, we're going to add the sauce. And our sauce would be sections. So sections are represented by green outlines. When we have nothing on the page, we can just mouse around here. It'll say add section. If we click on this, we can choose whether it be full page wide, medium, small, or extra small. Doesn't matter which one we select, it will add a green little section on. In the settings, we can then change the size of it. So you'll notice with the section that I just added on the page, we no longer see the background color behind it because each section can also have backgrounds. Now, you'll remember from the style guide, we can also set the preset. So if I have one of these presets set, it uses the background color from my preset. If I set it to none, then it takes it away. Now, in the settings of the background here, or in the settings here, if we turn on background, we can also add background images just to this one section. If I want a different one just for this one. So that is also an option. The other thing that you can do is instead of using images, right, set to a solid color right here, you can also set a transparency here, and then you would see the background image for the full page behind it. That's another way that you can give it an overlay. But when you're doing it this way, if your section was set to medium or small, right, then it wouldn't go all the way across your page. Okay, so sections are one piece. They're kind of like a big container. Inside of this big container, we can then add in rows. And rows are like the cheese on your pizza, right? So the background is the crust, the section is the sauce, and then on top of that is the cheese, which is our rows. But it's not just normal mozzarella cheese. It's a blended cheese. It's Canadiana pizza like we have up here in Canada, where you can add different flavors to it, right? So each row can have multiple columns. And so what you do with your sections, rows, and columns is you basically make up the layout of the page. So say I wanted a 1-column row, and so maybe I'm going to have like a headline, and then I'm going to have like an image and a sign up form. Well, then I need a 2-column row below that. So I hit the blue add row button. Then look, I can put a 2-column row below that. Right, and then maybe down below here, I want to have my footer. So I make that in a whole separate section with a 1-column row inside of it. And then maybe I might like design my, my terms and all that stuff below there. So you can see now I have this kind of layout where I can add the final piece to our pizza, which is elements, right? Our pizza toppings. There's all kinds of different toppings you can put on top of a pizza. Personally, I prefer the Canadiana pizza. But if we hit add element, you'll see all the different things you can add onto your page. And there's lots of them. And we could spend all day going through all of them, but I'm going to show you the 5 core ones. So first off, like I said, we want a headline across the top here. I just select headline, subheadline, paragraph, any one of these 3. It's going to pull it through with the styling from my style guide. But look, I can always come into the settings of them and say, okay, I want a large headline, I want an extra large headline, but I want to make some small changes to it. I can hit these 3 dots and I can actually override the settings from my style guide. So instead of it being black anymore, I can change it to a different color here. Look, style guide and color selector. I can choose a color from my style guide. Makes it nice and easy. I'm actually going to leave it black. Okay. Now, something else that we can do that's really cool. If I set this back to the default here for my style guide, if this section is set to, we'll leave it set to none, but then this section down here is set to darkest. So in my darkest presets that I set in my style guide, the font color was white, but here on none or lightest, it's going to be dark. So if I move this into a row where the paint section is set to darkest, it will automatically change to white font. So I don't have to go into the settings and do that now. So cool. But there is a text element. These are super straightforward. Click into them, start typing away. How to blank without blank, even if blank, right? There's your classic sort of hook, right? Okay. Now, I also mentioned images, right? I said I want to have an image over here and a sign up form over here. So headlines, paragraphs, they're all kind of the same thing. Subheadlines, paragraphs, right? They're just text elements. If you really go into the settings and override them, you could make this paragraph element look exactly the same as this headline element. So those are the first one, text elements. Over here, I'm going to add an image, right? This image element right here. In the settings of an image element, it's kind of like changing a background image. Look, image URL, I hit this, I get my image library. If I had a nice image of myself, I just drop it into this box, then it's in here for me to use. Look, there's a nice picture of this handsome fella right here. Right here under image width, you can change it to percentage or pixels. I like to use pixels, and I can change the size. I can move it up and down using this top margin setting. Now, my beautiful face is on this page. Okay, so image is really straightforward. I don't do too much other than changing the sizes, changing what the actual image is. You can add things like borders and shadows and all that stuff down here. You can do that with almost all of these, but I think that image itself is good just like that, okay? Now, that's our second most common element. Another one is video. The video is really easy. You just add the element onto the page, and then you, in the settings, paste the URL right into here. So I'll share that real quickly. Here's a video from the ClickFunnels YouTube channel. I'm just going to grab the share button, share URL here. From this video, I paste it into here, and look, it pulls it through. That easy. Okay. Now over on the right, I'm going to build out a little sign up form. Okay. So we already covered 3 elements. The next element that I want to talk about is called an input element. But let's make it look all right. So I'm going to do a subheadline. I'm just going to say, enter your email below to get a free photo of this handsome guy. Okay, so all you do is enter your email and I'll send you a free photo of me. Okay, so the element I'm going to use to start this is called an input element. It's right here, input. Okay, I just add it onto the page. And the settings of this, there's all kinds of settings in here for adjusting the design and everything, but the most important thing is the input type. For me to get a lead out of this funnel, for me to actually get a contact, I have to collect at least email address. It's set to email by default, but we could add as many of these on here as we want in a row. And I can even clone these, right? So I could have one be full name. I could have another one be, I don't know, phone number, another one be email. One of them has to be email address though. If one of these aren't email address, we won't collect a lead, which makes this all pointless. So for mine, I'm just going to do email address. So go ahead, play around in here. There's all kinds of things you can do with the styling of this input element, but the most important thing is just make sure at least one of them has the input type set to email address. Now below that, I'm going to add in another element. In order for me to actually be able to collect that email address, I need to have a button, which is right here. You'll notice my button already looks great, and that's because it pulled through the style from my style guide. It's set to style 1. If we go to style 2, I have some other ones. This was the one that I would have made it look like anyways. And what I normally do is I'll select the style from the style guide, then I'll hit the 3 dots. You know, maybe I need to make the font size a little bit bigger. Maybe I need to add a icon or something onto here, right? Maybe I'll do a little right arrow. Boom. And add a little left margin. Boom. There we go. Right. But it's really important. The button that you're using for this form that you've created, the on-click action here has to be set to submit order/submit form. This is going to make it so that submits any of the info they've given you above in the field, the input fields that you added on, and it's automatically going to take them to the next step in your funnel. If you set this to go to and then put the URL of the next step in your funnel, it will not work. Now, there are cases where you need to send them to like an affiliate link or a URL that isn't the next step in your funnel. You still leave it set to submit order/form, but you check this little box to enable something called a redirect override, and then you put the URL that you want them to go to right here. Right, so I'll put google.com, and now when someone fills this in, we'll collect their email and they will be sent to google.com. Right, so let me do this. So my email pre-populated for me. There we go. We'll submit it. And look, we're on Google. And that just created a contact inside of my account. I could connect workflows, tag them, put them on different lists, send them different emails. I'm going to show you how to do all of that in the upcoming videos. But what I want you to do is come into here, play around with all those layers. Remember, background of your page, sections are the green outlines, rows are the blue outlines. The rows can have multiple columns, right? And you have settings for each column as well. If you wanted like a background color for just one column, you have that option, right? You can play around with all the padding and stuff. Don't go too crazy, but it's all in there for you. And then elements, right? The orange outlines, play around with some of these different elements, see what they do. Want a little checkbox? There it is. Play around. You can't break anything. There's always a back arrow. If you don't like something, hit the back arrow, undo what you just did, and you can always go forward as well. Okay? Play around, have fun. Let me know in the comments below if you find anything super cool, an element you didn't know about, any elements you have questions about, let me know in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and then meet me in the next video, guys. I have more coming out, so turn on that notification bell. The next step will be out soon. That's it for this one. Bye, everybody.